Indestructible Gaming. Choose your character. Musket Shot. Mr. K. Let the review begin.
Hello and welcome to Indestructible Gaming and More with me, Mr. K, and my other, what's the word?
Cohort. Partner
Yes.
in crime.
Partner in crime, Musket Shot.
Hey, what's happening?
So we're going to talk about a little bit about PaxEast, but first we got to talk about a little indie game we've played.
Yeah,
Would you like to tell us the name of it, Musket Shot?
it is Creature in the Well. Kind of sounds
that's
like
the name.
a B, a 50s B movie. Creature in the Well. Look out for the creature in the well.
This game, I'm pretty sure, is out on Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
And the play style is, would you want to talk about it first since...
Sure, yeah. I mean, we played it on Xbox One, so I think we both played it on that, right? You didn't go on like PC or anything that.
No,
like
I
that,
played on
right?
Xbox.
So, the description of it is that it's a top-down, pinball-inspired hack-and-slash dungeon crawler, which I don't know. I guess I wouldn't consider it hack-and-slash, but that's the description that the developers gave of this game. And it's you're the last remaining bot C unit. You venture deep into a desert mountain to restore power to an ancient facility haunted by a desperate creature, hence Creature in the Well. Uncover and upgrade powerful gear in order to free the city of Mirage from a deadly sandstorm. So, and the game is rated E for everyone. So that's always good for everyone. So that's a little, I guess, information about the game from the developer itself. I don't know if I'd call it a hack and slash type dungeon crawler. It's an interesting game.
We should probably talk about the presentation of the game. I just want to say, first off, I like the comic look of the game. It has that comic aesthetic.
Yeah.
Everything looks fluid and nice, and it's interesting to look at. It's like eye candy.
You're right. I think it had a very good opening scene, had a very good comic book effect to it. It was very cool looking, and watching the character start walking in the sand and then all of a sudden stop and shake his foot like he had sand in his shoes. It was kind of cool. It was neat. And then the sandstorm while you're walking around it's kind of cool. It actually looks like a sandstorm. It doesn't look fake. It looks like you're actually in a sandstorm. It's kind of neat. Still looked pretty cool.
Now, the presentation looked really nice, but another thing that was also really nice was, I want to say, the music. That music was nice.
It was a very mellow music, wasn't it? I mean, other than fight scenes.
Especially in the beginning scene, the music was mysterious.
Yeah.
It made you think of, where am I? Who am I? Where am I going? What's going on now?
Yeah.
And with that music going, it makes you feel explorative.
Mm-hmm. I felt the music at times, though, kind of reminded me of Minecraft.
It
like
has that
very
calm, serene
mellow
kind of soundtrack.
Yeah, very mellow music. I mean, it was a nice soundtrack. It wasn't bad at all. I liked the music. Like I said, it was very mellow and it fit the game. Now, question on this one. Storyline. I don't know. I didn't complete the game like you did. So maybe there's more of a storyline to this game that I didn't encounter. I kind of felt like there should have been some sort of storyline at the beginning of the game to kind of tell you who you are, what you're doing, kind of like a little backstory.
The game actually does that through the lore.
Okay.
All right, yeah, we can get into the thick of the gameplay now. They described it as the hack and slash pinball game.
When I think of hack and slash, I'm thinking you're fighting creatures all the time and you're pulling out different weapons and stuff. And I mean, you're hitting orbs at different targets like pinball. Like they're almost like pinballs, and you're using your weapon almost like bumpers on a pinball machine. So again, like I said, I'm not sure if I call the game a hack and slash. I'm not sure if that's maybe the right term for it.
I agree, and I disagree with them calling it a hack and slash. It's the pinball mechanics. You bounce it off things, you hit things, and that requires you to hit the buttons a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that I wish this game did differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the X and Y being the hit thing and the way it just worked, it got to the point where I was tapping X and Y over and over again that my thumbs started actually hurting from doing it too much. That's like my one complaint about the controls.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I will say with this game. I mean, for a person like myself, some games are so crazy with the controls. Like, yeah, you got to do X, Y, and do the bumpers, and it's like I only have 10 fingers on my. It's like I can't do all these things and watch what I'm doing and watch the game. And it's like this game was very simple as far as controls. It was pretty much like 3 buttons.
I mean, the controls are simple. It's just the fact that you just have to mash Y and X over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty cool with the fact that you could, like I said, you could hit the orbs at the targets to knock them down and stuff like that. You would gain points or, I guess, dollars, whatever it was, money, based on hitting them and knocking them down and stuff like that. Like I said, like in pinball, you could do it just hitting the orb as regularly do, or you could do something where you kind of like hold the orb and sort of give it a little bit more power, and then you can kind of control where it's going to go, which I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah, obviously you can't do that in pinball, but I thought that was a pretty cool idea. 50% of the time I was able to do it, and the other 50% of the time it sent it flying elsewhere. I'm just like, all right, hopefully I can hit it back into the direction I want it to go, or it'll bounce and hit something else.
One of the things I disliked about this game is that all the dungeons, including the final boss, they felt all the same.
Yeah.
All they did was add new things. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. No. I'm happy they add new things to screw around with.
Yeah.
Each dungeon is basically the same layout.
Yeah.
You go through, there's a left door, there's a right door, or there's a left door and the right door and the middle door.
Right.
That's probably why they made them look different, because if they made them all the same, it probably would have been boring.
Right. They have a map at the bottom right of the screen where it kind of shows you what rooms you've been in and completed, and then
I didn't even know how to use the map, and I didn't even know where I was until it was like halfway through the game. I actually realized how to use it.
Yeah, I always felt like I'd look at the map and be like, okay, where am I? And it's like, I don't think the map's really helping me, because you don't see like the whole map. You only see parts of it. And it was like, okay, have I been in this one? And it's like, because some of the stuff sort of regenerates in the room, and you might have already been in that room and already knocked all that stuff down, but then it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to do this again, or do I skip it and just zoom right past it and go to another room? I don't know. It was a little confusing at times. Yeah, I agree with you that the rooms kind of look the same. There wasn't like there were major differences to the rooms. Some of them were pretty generic looking. So it was like, oh, okay.
But they also have equipment, they're like capes that you can wear, and you take them from other bot units that died.
Right.
And you can wear them.
Yeah.
And you can grab their cores, which you can go into the village, which is near the entrance to the dungeons, upgrade your bot, which I honestly have no idea what that did to me.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really tell you. They just say, hey, pay this and you can get it. And it doesn't really explain what it does. I'm pretty sure it increases your health, which is pretty good to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you're good enough, you can accidentally reveal secret rooms that lead to those areas that have that stuff. Because I've done it a couple of times by accident, just by screwing around with the ball with some of the puzzles.
Okay.
Boss battles, there aren't any.
Well, there's a little bit. I mean, you do fight the creature in the well.
No,
occasionally.
It's more of trials than anything.
Right.
It's like they just give you like a barrage of rooms you go into on level wise.
Right.
And when you complete, you go up a level until you get to where you were in order to restart the machine you need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Where you'll find the lore of the land and all that stuff.
I found it kind of difficult at times fighting the creature.
Massive difficulty curve.
Mm.
Because you go through an easy place and then go to the boss, and then it'd be really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The sad thing is about that is that the final boss is the same thing.
Oh, really?
But this time when you get through all of it, you get like this sword. But the thing is, you don't actually fight him. You just go in there and start hitting pinballs. They don't even hit him. Like the monster didn't even attack you.
Oh, really?
You just go forward as it backs off and then it gets caged. Like as funny as it is seeing it go back in fear,
mm-hmm.
it just didn't really add anything gameplay wise.
Yeah.
And they really don't explain how that happened or how it's working or what happened to him afterwards.
Yeah.
Did he leave or is he just there now? They don't explain that.
Right.
But yeah, I was disappointed by that.
Yeah.
The game is very short. If you know what to do and like are really good at the game, you could probably beat it in a day.
Right. Yeah, and it didn't take you long. You said it took what, about 6 hours?
Yeah, about 6 hours to complete. And the game is very easy to 100% because that's what I did.
Yeah.
So basically in each of the areas, each dungeon have like a different weapon you could use or like one to hit your ball and then one to power it up and then release and throw it. But with some of them, the ones you find in the dungeons usually give you a different ability. Like one gives you ability to see where the ball's going to go.
Right.
The other gives you ability to slow down the balls as they come to you.
Yeah.
Or it gives you more time to hit them. And then there's just some that don't do anything, and it's just there for the pure joy of it.
Yeah.
There's one that I found that was just a frying pan, and whenever I hit it, it made the pan sound effect.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Kind of like the baseball bat.
Yes.
There's a baseball bat, and it was like every time you hit an orb, it made that baseball bat sound, where it just hits, and it's like, oh, home run,
You can tell the creators put a lot of joy into this and hard work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad looking game. It's a good looking game. For someone like myself that likes pinball type stuff, I think it was fun to play. It is challenging a little bit to control the ball sometimes, but I found myself sometimes just in the rooms, just, hitting the balls, whether at the targets, sometimes like just to get points. Thought it was fun to do. So, I mean, if you like pinball, I think it's certainly check out.
It's different. I like it. I like the take.
So what do you think about replayability wise? Do you think it's got replayability? Do you think it's something that, you've completed it? Would you enjoy playing it again?
Now, for replayability wise, I would probably say I'd probably wait a good while before coming back to it again. And maybe a couple of years from now, I'd probably be like, Creatures in the Well. That was kind of fun, but sometimes a little annoying. Although I would not 100% it again. Basically, once you figure out your play style and how you like to play, and you have all the weapons and all that, it's kind of like it defeats the purpose of doing 100% again if you know what you're good with and you know you're all set. So then you can just go to the dungeons, grab what you want, and then you're all set.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through every room.
Figure out which weapon you need and then just take it from there.
If I wanted to say one thing to the developers right now about the future, if they make another one, I would be interested to see a multiplayer go like a Pong kind of style.
Oh, okay.
They go 1v1, one person on one side, one person on the other.
So you're talking like a P versus P type game, or would you want more of a co-op type game?
I mean, there could be a co-op game, but my mind was mostly set on PvP.
Yeah, okay.
Just for the fun of it. And it'd be cool. Because you can put things in the middle that, like, I don't know, it can change the ball or something like that. You can hit back and forth like you would in the game. It
could be like you said, you mentioned Pong, but I was just thinking all of a sudden it hit me, it could be like the game on the Atari 2600 years ago, which was called Combat, which was, your different tanks and you'd fire and it would bounce off things. And, basically where you fired, if it hit a readout or tower or something that it could hit, it'd bounce off and bounce, kind of almost like a pinball, and then it might hit the other vehicle or might not. And so kind of doing something like that would be kind of interesting with a second version of this game.
Oh, we haven't even talked about the lore yet. Of what I read from the lore and what I remember from the lore, basically the whole sandstorm was never there. Okay. That was an actual thriving city with bunches of people, and until the creature came along in the well and brought the sandstorm.
Gotcha.
And he wanted to take over. Now, the residents, which are like animals, didn't like that whatsoever and tried their best to knock it off with using the seed bots and various other bots.
Yeah.
And let's just say the creature in the well, he got a little angry from that. And he just
a little.
He kind of kindled them all, just a little bit. But the one cool thing I did realize, though, one of the characters, he's a janitor that works there.
Yeah.
I think his name was I think it was Roger.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Roger. Roger's father was there before it happened.
Oh, right. I think I remember that now that you mentioned that. I remember the janitor saying something about his father.
And when I read that lore, it was because he was like, oh, I hope Roger has a good future. Because he didn't know any of this was going to happen yet.
Right.
And he was like, oh, I hope we fix this machine soon. So it's insane to realize that you realize how long it's been going and how long these people have been in their houses.
Yeah.
And you can tell the creature's upset with you going through, ruining all his stuff. I mean, I don't even know what gender it is. It doesn't really say.
Yeah. What would you give it on a scale from 1 to 10?
I feel like it deserves a good firm 7.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. For me, I think it's a 7. I don't think it's a bad game at all. I think it's a fun game to play. It's on Xbox Game Pass right now. That's where you played it.
I would say it was a fun game, but repetitive.
Yes, and I guess if you don't mind that, then that's fine.
And if you like pinball, that works too.
Right, and pinball in a different way, where you're basically the bumpers. You're the bumper, so it's a little bit different. Like I said, I think it's a fun game. I think it's one of those games where you can, easily lose yourself in it for half an hour or an hour. I know I did. And sometimes it was just a matter of just hitting the orbs back and forth and stuff like that. Sometimes it was just fun just to do that. Like I said, the one thing for me was I'm used to, I guess, games having a little bit more of a storyline at the beginning where it's kind of tells you who you are, what you're doing, and why kind of thing. And that didn't happen for me at the beginning. So I kind of was like, what am I doing? Where am I going? And why am I doing this? I mean, if there's anything I could recommend that I would have said, try to get that in there. But, other than that, though, I agree with you. I think it's definitely a 7 out of 10.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And they're so I looked up the company. They're called Madison Wells Media, I think it is, MWM. And they do have some other games out. Some of the games are actually Oculus type VR type games, and a couple of them actually sound pretty interesting. They have one that's called Groundhog Day, like Father, like Son, which is a sort of a sequel to the movie Groundhog Day, where you play Phil Connor Jr. and you're back at the place in Pennsylvania where Punxsutawney Phil gets pulled out of the ground, and you're basically repeating Groundhog Day over and over and over again.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, and then the trailer I saw of it was kind of interesting. And at one point you're playing guitar, and each time you play, I guess you get better because you're obviously each day you're playing that guitar, you're going to get better. You're going to learn how to play the notes and stuff like that. And there's other things you got to do and things you can change. And I think the whole point of the game is to sort of try to make life better for people each day or something like that. And so it seems kind of interesting. It looks kind of interesting. I think it'd be kind of a neat gameplay for a VR experience if you're into that. And then there's another game or I don't think it's so much a game, and it looked really interesting. Again, it's a VR experience. It's called Chained: A Victorian Nightmare. And this is a dark retelling of The Christmas Carol. And so there's, obviously a past, present, and future ghost. And I don't think it's so much, I don't know, there might be some gameplay in it. It might be more of a movie-esque thing. I couldn't really tell from the trailer, but it looked pretty cool, looked pretty interesting. And if you, like that type of stuff, if you like Christmas Carol and you like it a little bit darker, where there's ghosts and other people coming out at you, it looks pretty neat. They do some podcast type stuff. They do a podcast which seems kind of interesting. It's almost like it's almost like a serial type podcast where it's called Voyage to the Stars, and it has a bunch of some relatively famous people on it that they're in space, and they're different folks and come from different areas. And there's some, I guess, I don't know if it's a weekly show or something like that. I don't know if it still runs or if it's out there now, but one of the characters is voiced by Felicia Day. If you like her, you'd probably like this program because she does one of the voices for the characters. So kind of cool. They do a little bit of some different stuff. So it's not like they're just focused on games. They're focused on other things too, movies and other stuff. So it's kind of neat.
Let's move on to our next topic, which is a little convention called PAX East.
Yeah. So I went Thursday and Friday. You went Saturday and Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see if we can compare our notes and see what we both thought of it. PAX East, normally it takes place in March, mid-March at times. And I think it's taken place before, like towards the end of March. This year was kind of weird. It was at the last week of February, the last 4 days of February. I'd have to say for them, thank God we had it then when it did, because with the whole coronavirus thing going on, they would have never have had this.
Yeah.
If they had it in mid-March, they would have never have had it. Thankfully, they were able to get it in when they did for their sake. And for ours too. I mean, to be honest, and I'll be selfish a little bit and say that, I'm glad that they had it then because I was able to go and enjoy it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. And I think there were some, obviously some companies that didn't come. Sony was not there. Microsoft was not there. Blizzard Studios was not there. So there was a little bit more open room to roam around, but that because of these companies not being there and their big setups, which usually take up a lot of the floor space, it was a little bit easier to walk around. But other than that, it was a bummer that they weren't there. It would have been cool if those three had been there as well. But obviously, health concerns for their own employees and others were, obviously more important.
Yeah. The show floor was very nice to look at. There was a lot of things hanging on the ceiling, making sure you know where you are most of the time.
Yeah.
I thought it was a big area. Kind of felt like traffic with people walking.
Yeah. I'm sure for Thursday, Friday, it's bad, but not as bad as Saturday and Sundays. Saturdays and Sundays, it's like there's times where you're literally standing still because you're waiting for people to kind of move and shuffle and stuff like that. So it is tough. What
games did you play?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So Thursday, we got to play a little bit more than we normally do. And Thursday, we usually do video games and computer games and that type of stuff. And Friday, we usually do tabletop games. A couple of games that kind of stood out to me that I liked. One of them was Amulet or Dungeon of Nebula or something like that. Nebula. I can't even pronounce the name. It's actually a game that was made in France. It's actually based off a story that a French author had written. Your typical RPG characters, your elf, ranger, dwarf, thief, and barbarian. It's a dungeon crawling type game, sort of hack and slash type stuff. The characters kind of bash each other as far as, saying different things to each other and make fun of each other. Again, Felicia Day is one of the voiceover actors. It looks like it's kind of a goofy, fun hack and slash type of game, which I think could be pretty interesting to play. There was another one called Deliver Us the Moon, which is you're the last astronaut and sent up from Earth. You're going to the moon and, the natural resources are depleted. So you're going to the moon to find out what happened. And because the moon got colonized and all these resources were being, used to help Earth. And now you got to figure out what happened to everybody and where are they going to get the next energy resource from. So that one seems kind of interesting. Blazing Sails is another one that seemed interesting. Again, Blazing Sails is a pirate game. It reminds me of Sea of Thieves. A little bit more different in the way it's created, but it also has a Fortnite feel to it where there's, pirate battle royales and stuff like that. So you've got probably 100 people more going at it in, different pirate battles, either on land or on sea and stuff like that. So I didn't really play that one. I know it is on a beta right now, so that you can, I think, join the beta, and it's kind of interesting. Okay, as my dog decided to start playing with the ball. That was interesting. And then the last one that I really liked was a game called, and my dog is back. The last game I thought that was pretty interesting was called Freeport City of Adventure, which is it's like playing Dungeons and Dragons, but you're basically the miniature. You get to choose what miniature you are. You get to paint them and design them and all that stuff. And then there's a dungeon master that kind of tells you, is explaining the story and kind of telling you what's going on. And then you kind of do different things in the game. And I think that game, it's not ready yet. They were still working on it, but the concept is really kind of cool. And it looked like it had a lot of fun aspects to the game where it could be pretty fun to play. So I would definitely look at getting that if that comes out sometime soon. That'll probably be on Steam when it first comes out. And I think most of the other ones will probably be, on Steam as well when they first come out, or they hit, console if they do hit a console. So what about you? What were some of the games that you may have played?
Well, are we just going to talk about indie games? Or are we talking about like...
No, we can talk about whatever games you want. I mean, mine, the games I chose were probably more indie game related, but maybe not. I know Maneater was a big draw there.
I never got to play Maneater, sadly. I really wanted to, but that line was way too long. There was this game, Carrion, that was a game I really wanted to play too. That was from the same people who make Enter the Gungeon. The line was somewhat decent. It got rather long. The demo was way too long. I sat on the line for at least 35 minutes, and I was like the fourth person in line still. It was that bad. If they gave it out, like a code or something like that, so you can play it at your house, then that's a perfect demo length. I wish I could have played it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I will say that with sometimes you're standing in line too long, or sometimes even if you do get to play it, the gameplay itself is sometimes too long. It's like, you're 30 minutes in, and it's like that doesn't make sense for people to stand in line for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Although some of them did have a timer on it for the demos, which I was happy to see.
Yeah, I do like it when they do that, because I think it does free up the games a little bit quicker for people to try. So yeah, if they have to have timers on it, it does make it a little bit.
So in terms of playing SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Remastered, that was really good. I liked it. It looked really nice and it was fun. And then I also played Destroy All Humans Remastered, which was also really fun and really good. I don't think I played that much. Lines were just long. So, the guys who worked on Castle Crashers, Behemoth.
Yeah.
They're bringing this new game that was out, that was there as like an arcade cabinet. It was called Alien Hominid Invasion. That game, I played that. That game was so much fun. Basically, the whole idea is you run around and do certain objectives as you complete the level. But the thing is, the longer you stayed there, the harder the game would get. But it's all based on like movement, and you can go really fast and really far with a certain amount of moves. Like you'd be able to jump on people on jetpacks and ride them through the air. Coming to Nintendo Switch, PC, and I'm pretty sure Xbox. So everyone wins.
Everybody's a winner. Yeah,
pretty much.
I think my wife played that one, and it looks interesting. Again, it looked like, I don't know, to me it looked like a button masher type game where you're
it was a major button masher, but it was like one of those games that would make it fun. Let's talk about that Nintendo booth.
You talk about the one that had Animal Crossing in it?
Oh, that was terrible.
Like I talked to you before, I didn't understand the purpose of this game. I thought Animal Crossing, to be honest with you, it looks like a children's game. I'm sure it may or may not be. I don't know. It's not my type of genre, or not my type of game. But there are a lot of adults that love playing the game. So there's obviously something to it that's exciting.
So basically, Animal Crossing is a life simulator, an ultimate stress-free life. To do what you want, to do what you will without any consequences or anything to worry about. And I guess that goes out to a lot of people who want to do that. It makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely had a following. I mean, people were excited to see the characters there. And
the game's been going ever since the Nintendo 64. Animal Crossing wasn't the issue about that booth. Nintendo was the issue at that booth. Now, Nintendo had these props going around and people in mascots outfits going around from Animal Crossing. Now, that was cool. That was cool to see. And the line was long, but it was worth it. The problem was they had outfits like sweatshirts and all that stuff. And they had these pins of a character that everyone liked. Apparently, what they did was they basically sold out before anyone showed up. They let the people who worked there and the people who went there with their games go over and buy the stuff before even the people came in. That made a lot of people angry.
Yeah, I had noticed though in the past when some of these companies come there and they have, T-shirts or other gear or whatever it is that they're selling. Sometimes they just, I think they just don't think that there's going to be enough of an interest to.
Nintendo is infamous for that.
Yeah, and
they always do that. I don't know how.
Just bring a ton of stuff because you're gonna sell the stuff. I mean, it's probably a pain in the butt to bring it, to ship it and stuff like that. But it's amazing. Like, I mean, for PaxEast there, the amount of people that stand in line to buy PaxEast sweatshirts or T-shirts or other gear and stuff like that, I always find to be quite amazing. And their stuff sells out like crazy. You would think that more of these companies, if they're doing it, like something like a Nintendo, would come loaded with gear to sell.
Another indie game that I did see, it was called Knuckle Sandwich, and I'm pretty sure it's coming out for Steam only. Basically, it has a PS1 aesthetic, so it looks old, but it turns into an RPG in which when you fight, you do mini games mid-battle. So like you'd be fighting this person, and then if you go to attack, you'd go into a mini game where it'd say something like, oh, do this or do that, and you gotta do quick or else it's not gonna land. I just saw a gameplay of it, and it looked really fun. And I'm even considering getting it when it comes out. Hey, maybe that's a game we can talk about later.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be cool.
Knuckle Sandwich.
I'll remember that. Is there anything you want to add about PAX East?
I think that's pretty much it. It's fun. I enjoy going. Like I said, I'm being selfish. I'm glad that it happened when it did and wasn't in March where it could have gotten canceled because of the coronavirus thing going on. But so I'm glad that it happened when it did. It's a lot of you see a lot of interesting games, and again, like our first episode, we talked about the indie game developers and them showing off their stuff and making sure that you kind of get out there and see their stuff. And it's a lot of fun to stop by their booths and kind of have them tell you what they're working on. And here's the game, and here's the storyline, and here's how you play. It's pretty neat. They're just dying to show you the games and have you play it. So I think it's a great place to go see these games and try them out before they even hit Steam or hit Xbox or Nintendo or wherever they're going to get on. So well worth going to if you can get to some of these gaming conventions. I feel like doing that and trying games out before they come out to the market.
All right. I think that's all I can think about for PAX East.
Yeah, me too. I don't think that's about it.
All right. Before we end the episode here, we are going to talk about Pizza Tower. What is Pizza Tower? Well, you're going to have to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. I got to find out myself. I got to get into this game and try it out. So
I've already played it before, but you haven't.
It'll be interesting to try this thing out. Our next game that we talk about or review. And it's...
But in the meanwhile, while we're going to be talking about that, we're going to be actually playing another game, a full game instead of a demo. That game, though, you're going to have to find out what it is when we talk about Pizza Tower.
Oh, you're doing teasers here, huh?
Yeah. We got to make sure the tuners are on the grip of their seats.
There you go.
I want their neck all the way in the bottom of the cushion in the back. I got to make sure they're fully in there.
I think that about wraps up our show for today.
This is Indestructible Gaming and more.
It's always a good time.
All right. Well,
thank you for listening, Mr. K. We will talk to you later on. I'm sure I'll be ready to talk about Pizza Tower next week.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of Pizza Tower, I now want pizza, so make myself some pizza.
Sounds pretty good.
All right. Keep gaming, everybody. Bye.
Peace.
Game over.
Hey, it's Mr. K here. I just want to let you know that you can follow us and like us on Facebook and Twitter. By the way, you can also download this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and TuneIn Radio. All right, folks. Have an awesome day. See ya.